Every year around the holidays, these little guys start showing up at my house, and they start to fill up my garage. And when I drive home and I see a little smiling box sitting there on the porch looking back at me, well, I get pretty happy because I know inside that box is something that I've ordered, something that I've waited for anxiously. I'm either going to give it to someone as a gift or I'm going to get to use it myself. My kids are pumped because they see this and they see a boat or they see a race car or a spaceship and anything else that their imaginations can come up with that they can do with simply a cardboard box. But for me, it's what's on the inside. And eventually, when all these boxes start showing up, all this stuff starts to kind of accumulate in my home. And if I'm not giving it away to somebody, then it stays there. And hopefully I use it, but sometimes I use it once or twice and then it just kind of stays around for a while. You see, in and of itself, stuff, things, they're not sinful, but they are easy to accumulate. And over time, we get really comfortable with all the stuff that we've accumulated. And sometimes we get so comfortable that we find ourselves actually clinging to that stuff, and that's where our peace and our comfort comes from. But you see, if we get to that point, we'll quickly realize that if we cling so tightly to our stuff, then it's hard to hold on to God. In fact, Jesus said this in Matthew chapter 19 when he said that it was easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter into heaven. Earlier on the Sermon on the Mount, he talks about not laying up treasures for ourselves here on earth. Here on earth we have moths, we have rust that can destroy. That's just stuff, they're just things. He said, rather lay up your treasure in heaven where moth and rust they cannot destroy. That's where God lives. Those are the eternal things that we should be after. You know, a lot of times we pray and we thank God for our blessings and we refer to the physical stuff that we have, but we're not guaranteed to cling to the stuff in our lives. Sometimes things happen in life that cause us to let go. They force us to let go of that stuff, and then we realize, well, maybe we've been holding on to the wrong things. You see, Jesus says that we can't serve God and money, and we also can't serve God and the things that money buys. We can serve God. Sometimes in life, though, things happen. Sometimes something disastrous can actually turn out to be something that's quite the blessing.
Well, it was April 27th, 2011. Got up just like any other day. I was going to go work at Dr. Thomas's office. He's right down the road from me, so I went in to work. Around 10:30 or 11, it started getting bad. You know, we started hearing weather reports about strong winds and, you know, possible tornadoes. Around 6:30, I guess, somewhere between that time, we decided to go back to the house so we can see what's left. I had gotten a call from our neighbor that lives across the street from us, Miss Rita, and they actually had their house on the market. And so she calls me and says, Ruth, is your home destroyed? Our house is leveled. And you know, she's calling me from Florida. And I said, no, I said, I didn't know that. I said, well, if your house is leveled, I'm sure our house is too. And so that's when we left, went to the house, drove as far into the neighborhood as we could. And we couldn't get in because there were trees and power lines everywhere. So we walked a portion into the neighborhood. And when we saw our house, you know, all the houses around it were basically leveled. And ours was standing. It had a lot of damage to it. It wasn't livable. All the windows were blown out. You know, there's holes in the decking. The ends of the house are gone. Everything's wet, and you know, there's a lot of debris in the house. Landon came back with us to the house. Lauren did not want to come. And, you know, so he was pretty shaken by it, you know. Where are we going to live? You know, all your stuff is gone, you know. And it was pretty sobering. You know, that's always going to happen to somebody else. It's not going to happen to you. We had lived here 18 years or so, had no, not even storm damage, wind damage, rain damage, hail, nothing. So I know they call this area Tornado Alley, but we had never experienced anything like that and didn't expect to, because that's always going to happen to someone else. That morning we came back to the house and there were people already here. I mean, they're our friends from Bethel. They're already here. I'm sorry. They were here ready to help us go through stuff. And then people from Madison came. And the people from Bethel, they said, "Oh my goodness, look at all these people that are here to help you." And so they went to other people's house and, tried to help them go through their stuff. But going through things, I remember I had a lot of the kids' schoolwork in the attic, and the attic was completely, gone, and the schoolwork was just piled up in a heap. It was all wet and stuff. And so I remember going through those papers, the little things they had colored and little things, little pictures that I wanted to keep. And then I kept thinking in my head, I can't keep this. This is wet and mushy. It's moldy. It's gonna, so I just had to let it all go, and even the stuff that I wanted to keep, I had to let go because it was messed up. It was wet. It was not salvageable. But at that point, I realized, and Gary too, we can't keep these things. They're gone. And so I think I even kind of got silly and started, I guess my way of coping, I started laughing about it, not laughing in a mockery or anything like that, but just that was my way of handling it, was to laugh about it and just try to have a good attitude about it, because there's nothing you can do. You deal with what you have been given. Yes, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient to have a tornado. But there's such blessing in it. Everyone needs a good tornado every now and then. And I mean that in a most positive way, because it stirs you up. It stirs your life up. It stirs up your junk that you've collected over the years that you never look at anyway. There's stuff that had been in our home, and I'm not a big pack rat, but there's things that we could have scaled down on that we didn't need, that we didn't use. Everyone has those things. That's why everybody needs a little tornado every now and then to stir their life up and get you to thinking about what's important.
For the gospel to ring true to everyone in the world, it can't be bound to material things. Because some people live with an abundance of stuff, and others survive day to day with very little. The gospel is for each of those people and everyone in between. We can't tie our relationship to God with a rope of stuff or materialism. Sometimes it may take something as disastrous as a tornado to make us realize that really, to be content in this life, all we need is God.